Welcome back to the Manifestation Method podcast. I'm your host, Ayelet Polonsky, and today's episode is a sacred one. We're diving into one of the most mystical, potent, and energetically rich times on the Jewish calendar, Shavuot, and exploring how this ancient portal holds keys to your modern day manifestation power is what today's episode is all about. This episode is for the seekers, the dreamers, the ones who want to deepen their connection to Source and open their hearts to receive more. More wisdom, more clarity, more abundance, more inner peace, more love, more purpose. The list goes on. And many of you reached out with questions specifically about the holiday of Shavuot and how it holds divine codes that teach us how to turn ourselves into vessels that can receive the abundance that our souls came here for. So in today's episode, I'm going to be answering all of your questions. So take a deep breath, sit back, relax, and let's jump in. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Together, we'll journey into your deepest authenticity. Because the more you align with who you truly are, the more effortlessly you call in the life that you desire and deserve. And most importantly, the more you step into your soul's highest purpose. Welcome to the Manifestation Method podcast, your number one source for Kabbalistic manifestation. Here we combine the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, modern psychology, and quantum physics to help you achieve real, tangible manifestation results with my proven Abra method. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and I'm here to guide you on your journey of manifesting a life that is aligned, expansive, and deeply connected to your highest self through the sacred energetic mechanics of Kabbalistic manifestation. To learn how to use Kabbalistic manifestation to transform your life from the inside out, go to ayeletpolonsky.com or download the Manifestation Method app. Let's open the gates of manifestation together. So let's begin with the first question and the most basic question, in my opinion, that was asked, and that is, what is Shavuot, and why is it such a powerful, energetic portal? So Shavuot is also known as the Festival of Weeks, which marks the culmination of a 7-week spiritual odyssey that began on Passover. So if Passover was the Exodus, if Passover was us breaking free from bondage, from old identities, old patterns, stories, and paradigms, then Shavuot is the download. Shavuot is the moment that the universe transmits the next level of revelation. It's the day that we received the Torah, not just as a scroll of laws and to-do lists, but as a Kabbalistic blueprint for living in alignment with divine truth. But here's the secret. Shavuot is not merely a commemoration of a historical event. It is a cosmic replay, an energetic reenactment of the original moment when the heavens parted and infinite wisdom poured into finite vessels. It's a spiritual broadcast of the same divine transmission that occurred at Mount Sinai, an annual surge of light, insight, and clarity that becomes available and accessible to all of us right here, right now, once again. And according to the Kabbalists, the light of Sinai doesn't belong to the past. It's cyclical, returning every year on this sacred day. But here's the real caveat. We only receive it in proportion to our readiness. And that's a really important manifestation principle. We only receive it in proportion to our readiness, receiving the abundance, the clarity, the wisdom, the love, the inner peace, whatever it is, we only receive it in proportion to our readiness. So the revelation doesn't happen to us, but rather it happens through us. So the Torah and this Kabbalistic blueprint is gifted in direct measure to our internal preparation, our openness, and our longing to align with something greater. So Shavuot is not just a static memory. It's a portal. It's an invitation, and it's a frequency that we can attune to. It's really the moment when time folds in on itself and the same light that thundered down at Har Sinai becomes available again. Not just to remember as a memory, but to embody as an actual experience right here, right now. Which brings us to the second question, which is, what does Matan Torah really mean? And how is it relevant to manifestation? So Matan Torah literally translates to the giving of the Torah, not the receiving of the Torah. And that detail is everything. It tells us something profound about the nature of the universe and our relationship to the Creator. It's about giving, not receiving. What does that mean? Because here we're talking a whole episode about what it means to turn yourself into a receiver. So Ayelet, you're contradicting yourself. But hold on. Here we go. The giving is constant. It's ongoing. It's eternal. The Creator, Source, is always giving, always transmitting, always sending wisdom and guidance and abundance and love and purpose into the field of existence. So the real question is not, is it being given? Because that's that's an obvious yes. The question is, am I open to receive it? Am I receiving that thing that is always available to me? And this is where manifestation and Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, meet. Because true manifestation is not about manipulating reality or forcing the universe to give you what you want. That's an old paradigm, which is rooted in lack and control. Real manifestation is about becoming energetically aligned, a vibrational match, so to speak, for what's already being offered. It's about tuning your internal frequency to the signal that's already being broadcasted. So think of Matan Torah as the original download, an epic moment of divine communication between God and man. But here's the twist. It wasn't a one-time broadcast. The transmission never stopped. In fact, it's still happening every moment, every day, with every breath. We are breathing life into our being, into existence with every breath. That giving is nonstop. But the challenge is that most of us are walking around like we've got one bar of signal, or worse, maybe on airplane mode. We're distracted, we're self-doubting, we're full of noise and spiritual static. We've cluttered our vessels with limiting beliefs, ego patterns, unprocessed pain, and then we wonder why the messages don't come through. But the Torah, this Kabbalistic blueprint, this divine truth, wisdom, and purpose is still streaming towards us like divine Wi-Fi, always available, always online. Matan Torah is the reminder that the giving never stopped. We just need to upgrade our spiritual bandwidth. And to receive the download, we need to clear the cache, close the background apps, quiet the mind, open the heart, and reattune our inner frequency to the source that never stopped speaking. Matan Torah is not just an ancient event. It's a living metaphor for your own life. The light is here, the wisdom is here, the blessing is here. The question is, are you listening? And then the next question that I was asked is, Kabbalah teaches that Kabbalah means receiving. What does Kabbalah really mean? Okay, so yes, Kabbalah comes from the Hebrew root lekabel, which means to receive. But don't mistake this for a passive act. This is not about waiting around, hoping something good lands in your lap. This is an active, intentional, and sacred art. In order to receive from the Creator, it means becoming a vessel. What does that mean, becoming a vessel? A vessel is an open, refined, and aligned container that can hold the infinite, can hold the abundance. And let's be honest, that's not always easy. Because to truly receive means stepping out of the ego, beyond control, and into radical trust. And why is that so hard? I mean, I think it speaks for itself, stepping behind the ego, going beyond control, entering into radical trust. But it really is hard because receiving requires a few elements, and this is important. Let's break it down. What are the elements that receiving requires? The first is humility. Being able to say, I don't already know. You have to be willing to empty the cup. You have to be able to say, I don't have all the answers. My ego is not that well informed. I don't need to perform. I don't need to be the expert here. Real receiving starts with the acknowledgement that there is a higher intelligence, right? Ein Sof, the infinite light that sees farther, holds deeper, and gives better than anything we could ever orchestrate ourselves. This humility really opens us up to the light of the Creator and allows the Creator into the driver's seat. And we just come along for the ride because we're saying, we don't know where we're going. I have no clue where I'm going. But it's a lot more fun to say, I humble myself. I bow my head to you, God, and I let you lead the way. That's true humility. The next element that receiving requires is surrender. It's being able to say, I trust there's something greater than me. And it's important to note here, because I get this question a lot, like, isn't surrender about giving up? No, surrender is not about giving up. It's about giving in to the flow of divine intelligence. It's about letting go of the tight grip of control, the timelines, and how things should look. And it's about allowing the universe to surprise you with something beyond what your mind can conceive. This level of surrender opens your vessel to receive more than you could ever chase. And the next element is worthiness. It's the ability to say, I believe I am enough to receive miracles. And let's face it, you're already worthy. I mean, the moment you were born is the moment that God said the universe could not exist without you. That it makes you inherently worthy of miracles. But this is the biggest block for most people. It's not the receiving itself, but the deep hidden belief that they're not worthy of what's being offered. And it shows up as self-sabotage, as procrastination, as overgiving. We pray for blessings with one hand, but then we push them away with another. That's believing I'm not worthy, right? But here's the truth. The Creator only creates vessels capable of holding light. So if you were created, you're worthy, period. You don't have to hustle for your healing or earn your abundance. All you have to do is just remember who you are. So when people say, I'm struggling to manifest, what they're often really struggling with is receiving. Not because the blessings aren't available, but because they haven't yet cleared the vessel, surrendered the ego, or remembered their worth. So Kabbalah, lekabel, to receive, really invites us to reclaim all that, to actively prepare the vessel, to clear, open, expand in order to receive. Because the truth is, the flow of light is constant. So again, the question is, are you ready to hold it? And the next question we got was, how can we prepare ourselves to receive the wisdom, the abundance, the love, the divine guidance? How can we prepare ourselves to receive? So the truth is, we prepare by emptying, by softening, by creating space. Not space for the sake of absence, but for the sake of invitation. Because just like you can't pour wine into a full cup without it spilling over, you can't receive spiritual light when your vessel is already overflowing with anxiety, with clutter, with the noise of the world. It's an emptying out that's required. And this is a universal law of energy. This is quantum Kabbalah. To receive something new, you must first make space for it. If your mind is tangled with overthinking, if your heart is guarded with resentment, if your body is tight with tension, there is no room for the divine to enter, no bandwidth for a miracle, no spaciousness for a message. And that's why preparing isn't about striving. It's about clearing, unraveling, letting go. So preparation can look like meditation, right? Not to get somewhere, but to just remember who you already are, which is a vessel of divine intelligence, right? Preparing your vessel or emptying your vessel could mean forgiveness or releasing the heaviness that you've been carrying in your heart so that you can open again. It can look like decluttering your physical space. This is something I like to do at least once a year, if not twice. It's just getting rid of clothes that I haven't worn for over a year, the tchotchkes that have accumulated in my cabinets, in my drawers, in my dresser, right? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And a clear home makes room for a clear soul. Also journaling is a powerful practice. It really helps untangle the mental chaos and makes room for higher guidance. Another big one that I really should take my own advice and do it more often than I already do. And this is fasting from social media. This is just about reclaiming your energy and cutting cords with whatever is draining your light, which social media can very often do. Also, just the fact that social media often creates a lot of comparison, and that can create a lot of mental clutter and constrict the heart, and then there's no space for that divine light to come in. So if even just to heal oneself of comparison, take a 24-hour fast from social media, every week, I would say. And then there's deep breathing and attunement. The breath is the bridge between the body and the soul. And when you breathe deeply, you signal to your nervous system that it's safe to receive. So let's go ahead and just take a deep breath together right here, right now. It's an invitation I'm giving myself, giving you. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Thank you. That felt good for me too. So each of these acts is a kind of inner housekeeping, right? It's a soft whisper to the universe that says, I'm ready now. I've made space. Come on in. And the next question is, what's the difference between passively waiting and actively receiving? Hi, Ayelet here. I just wanted to pop in and say I am so excited to officially introduce the Manifestation Method portal, membership, and app. This is your home for all things Kabbalistic manifestation. You'll get access to my monthly live workshops, soul deep hypno activations and attunements, all of our manifestation courses, and our global community of manifestors. And the best part, it's just $26 a month. That's less than a latte a week. Come manifest alongside me and start creating the life you desire and deserve. Head over to ayeletpolonsky.com to join us. This is a good one, right? I would say that passive waiting is rooted in doubt. It's the voice of uncertainty that says, maybe it'll come, maybe it won't. It feels like limbo. It's disempowered, disengaged, disconnected. Say you're looking out the window hoping something will arrive, but deep down you're not sure if you're worthy or if the universe even heard your request. But active receiving, that's a whole different frequency entirely. Active receiving is rooted in faith. It's the knowing that it's already on its way and that my only job is to prepare my vessel. So it's not about if it's coming. It's about being opened, aligned, and attuned enough to let it in when it arrives. So waiting, we would say, is stagnant, while receiving is receptive. It's magnetic, it's intentional and alive. And when you're actively receiving, you're not sitting around twiddling your thumbs. You're doing deep, deep, deep spiritual work. This is key, to sit back and think that doing nothing or just doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Einstein says that's the definition of insanity. Actively receiving is active. Active receiving is about recalibrating your vibration, raising your frequency to match the miracle that's already in motion. Because if you desire it, it's in motion. It's about anchoring your belief and refusing to spiral into doubt, even when your eyes don't see the evidence yet. Right? It's about listening for inner instructions. It's those subtle soul whispers that guide your next aligned step. See, you're aligning your actions with trust here, making choices from the energy of, I know it's coming, rather than what if it never comes? So think of it this way. Passive waiting is like standing at the door with your arms crossed, while active receiving is like opening the door, lighting a candle, and setting the table because you know the guest is on their way. This is the sacred shift from hoping to welcoming, from doubting to devotion. And that subtle but profound shift is precisely where manifestation begins. And the next question that came in is a semi-personal one. She asks, have you ever had a moment that felt like a personal Matan Torah, giving of the Torah? So yes, actually, I've had many of these soul-shifting, truth-downloading moments, but one that stands out above the rest, or one of them that stands out, I have a lot, but one of them happened deep in the Amazon jungles of Peru. So I was in the middle of a ceremony, and I was surrounded by the vibration, the humming of the rainforest, the chirping of the insects, and the crackle of the fire, and the rhythmic songs of the shamans that were vibrating through the maloka like ancient codes. And I had fasted for a couple days leading up to this moment, and I had prayed for clarity. And I had peeled back layer after layer of ego, fear, illusion. And then everything stopped. Time dissolved. And suddenly, I wasn't learning something new. I was remembering. It felt like my soul pierced through lifetimes of forgetting and touched the raw, pulsing truth of the divine. Not as a concept, not as an idea, but a direct transmission from source. It was as if heaven opened, and instead of thunder or commandments, I heard this still, powerful knowing rise up from within me. And that voice said, as clear as this conversation right here, right now, the voice said, you came here to help others remember who you are. And it was overwhelming. I remember tears pouring down my face, not from sadness, but from the unbearable beauty and truth of it all. Of finally hearing the truth that I had forgotten that I already knew. Of remembering that this was never about achieving or fixing or proving. This life was about returning to the soul's knowing, returning to God, returning to love. Up until that point, so much of my inner work was thinking that I needed to fix something or heal something or transform something. And I feel like that is just a never-ending game. That is, in a way, a trap, right? Because the work never ends. But that voice, right? That voice, that direct transmission, you came here to help others remember who they are, was also a sacred invitation for me. to peel back the layers and just get to the core of the essence of who I am, of what's always been true and present inside of me, and that's never left, right? On a soul level, I remembered who I was. And then it just became this like spiritual download, right? This transmission that said, now you get to be a mirror for every person you meet, and you get to remind them of who they truly are, right? I'm not anybody's savior. You get to become your own savior. And that's by getting in touch with the godliness within that's always ever present. So, that moment was my personal Matan Torah. It was a holy download that burned into the fiber of my being, and it really changed not only me forever, but the essence of my work and what I do and the purpose and even just the energetic and frequency behind it, right? It changed everything. And after that, I couldn't go back to life as usual, because once you've heard the call, once you've remembered, you become responsible for that truth. You become a vessel for it. And so I want to say this loud and clear. These moments are not reserved for prophets on mountaintops. They happen in the jungle. Sometimes they happen for me in the bathtub. They happen while you're rocking your baby to sleep. They happen in heartbreak, in synchronicities, in poetry, in music. It can happen in the space between two breaths. And they truly happen when you stop running and you start listening. We are all being offered our own Matan Torah again and again. So the question, once again, is, are you still enough to hear it? Are you open to receive it? And when it does show up at your front door, are you willing enough to live by it? Because when the answer to these questions is yes, everything changes. Yeah. The next question is, what blocks us from receiving, and how do we clear all that? So I'd say at the root, most of our blocks are not cosmic blocks, or sometimes they're not. Like, a lot of people get wrapped up in past life or generational, and there's a lot there to unpack. There's a lot of truth there, but let's just focus on first and foremost what's here, right now. Most blocks are subconscious, right? It's not that we lack the blessings in our life. It's that we lack the inner capacity to let them in. And these blocks often stem from trauma, conditioning, limiting beliefs that took root early and settled in deep, beliefs that say, I'm not worthy, I have to hustle, prove, and suffer to deserve anything good, or the voice that says, if I receive too much, I'll be selfish, or I'll just take from others. Or the voice that says, love is conditional, safety is scarce, abundance has strings attached. These are not just thoughts. These are stories, tales that live in your body. They form energetic walls around your heart. They're the clenched muscles in your belly. It's the anxiety in your chest when something good actually does come your way. We think we're waiting on the universe, but the truth is, the universe is waiting on us, waiting for us to soften, to trust, to unlearn. So how do we clear these blockages? So, one way of doing it, and there's many, could be inner child healing, right? Many of us received our wounds when they were formed in childhood, especially if we grew up around chaotic, inconsistent, or conditional love. It's when a parent only showed up when we performed, when we were good, when we weren't too much. We learned to contract in that way. We learned to make ourselves smaller, quieter, easier to love in order to maintain the connection with our caretakers. And so receiving starts to feel dangerous in that way. So inner child work really allows us to go back, to reparent that part of us, to be able to say, you don't have to earn love anymore. You don't have to earn rest, joy, or abundance. It's safe now. I mean, I've been on a journey of healing my inner child, and it's so layered and it's so profound, but the deeper and deeper I go, the more access I have to that little 5-year-old Ayelet. And she's at this point learned to trust me as her primary caretaker. And she gets to ease into that knowing I've got her back. And as a result, I'm not generally outsourcing regulation from others, right? If there's someone else there to co-regulate with me, awesome. That's great. I won't push that away, but I'm not dependent on that. I know how to have a relationship with my little girl and take care of her now as a result of years of inner child work. It's really profound. Another way could be through somatic release. It's another one of my favorites. It's really important to know that the body keeps the score. Yeah, it does. But the body also holds the keys to freedom. So while the body does hold on to trauma and patterns and stories and conditioning, the body also holds the capacity to heal, to experience freedom, to experience one's own redemption. And when we give ourselves permission to let emotions move through the breath, through sound, through tears, through movement, we dissolve the freeze that kept us in survival mode. So this is not just about positive thinking. It's about feeling safe enough to receive again. And another, obviously, awesome, and I'm biased because it's what I teach and it's what I do, but a way to clear the blockages and turn yourself into a receiver is by listening to the Manifestation Method podcast, right? Learning from this content. It's why I put it out here. It's the greatest service from my heart. And, recently I launched the Manifestation Method app, right? Which is where the deep rewiring of beliefs happens, because I take you through bit by bit, piece by piece, through hypno-visualization and subconscious reprogramming. I literally reteach the nervous system that receiving is safe and that you're allowed to live with open hands and that you don't have to protect yourself from your own desires. And when you see it, when you feel it and believe it in the subconscious, your entire energetic field begins to shift, because we manifest whatever it is, inner peace, love, abundance, money, health, whatever it is. We manifest according to our subconscious commitments, right? So if we're not even clear or aware of what's going on in our subconscious, how are we going to bring what's in our blind spot to the realm of our awareness and be able to then alchemize, transmute, and transform it, right? So that's what the app is really aimed to do. And of course, there's also the portal of forgiveness. And I don't just mean forgiving others. I mean, first and foremost, and probably most importantly, forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for the years that you didn't know how to receive. Forgiving the version of you who coped by staying small. Forgiving the people who hurt you and taught you lack. Forgiveness is not about excusing the pain. It's about releasing it. Because as long as you're holding on to resentment, shame, or guilt, your vessel is clogged. And light cannot flow into a clogged system. So opening to receive is overall a practice. It's a devotion. It's a homecoming. You do not have to be perfect to receive, but you just have to be willing to clear the static and say to yourself, I'm ready now, I'm safe now, and I am worthy of the life that I came here to live. And the other question, or another question, is how do we know when something is from ego versus source? So ego is loud, it's urgent, it's fear-based. It shouts in your mind like a ticking clock. It says things like, you're falling behind, everyone else is ahead, hurry, do this now or you'll miss your chance. So ego disguises itself as productivity, but underneath it's really a frequency of panic. It pushes from scarcity, right? Or it's sourced in scarcity. It's sourced in the belief that there's not enough time, there's not enough space, there's not enough love, there's not enough for you, right? So the ego demands action without alignment. It confuses movement with progress. The ego says you have to force, control, strive, and prove just to keep up. But source? How do we know when something's coming from source? Source is not loud. Source doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers in the stillness between thoughts, in the hush after you exhale. Source is calm, grounded, expansive. Source says things like, you're not late. You are not behind. In fact, you're right on time. There is a divine unfolding. And here's your next step. If you're willing to listen, let me show you. Source does not rush. It flows, it guides, it doesn't pressure, it invites. So when you truly tune in, your body knows the difference. Ego feels like tension, like anxiety in your chest, like a tight jaw or a racing mind. Whereas source, on the other hand, feels like peace, like breath returning to your belly, like ease in your shoulders, or kind of like a truth settling in your bones. So if you're ever unsure where it's coming from, ego or source, just pause. Don't rush just because your ego is in panic. Just wait, breathe, be still, because the voice of ego gets louder with urgency. But the voice of source gets louder in stillness. And when you drop in, you'll hear it. It'll be soft, true, and certain. And it's the whisper that will always guide you home and in the right direction. So another question is, which hypnoactivation or attunements from your manifestation app do you recommend? So I'd say if we're on this topic of Shavuot and receiving, I have an attunement called Open to Receive, which is really beautiful. I have a hypnoactivation called Divine Guidance Download. And I also really recommend the worthiness reset, because worthiness is the gatekeeper to receiving, as we've said. So if you're in my library, you're already in the app, you're a member, then you'll find these ready to go. I recommend you listen to these, either right before bed or first thing in the morning, and do it with intention. Another question that came in is, how can someone begin the journey of receiving Torah in their own life, especially if they weren't raised religious or don't know Hebrew? So first, let's clear a common misconception. Torah is not only for the religious or for those raised going to synagogue. Torah is much bigger than any label or tradition. Torah and this Kabbalistic blueprint belongs to the soul. It is a timeless, living light that transcends culture, upbringing, and belief systems. It is an eternal wisdom and a divine frequency that longs to connect with you because it's alive, and it longs to connect with you exactly where you are right now. So the key is really to approach this blueprint not as a rigid text or a set of rules, but as really a sacred dialogue between your soul and the infinite. Right? So some gentle, accessible ways to begin would be to, let's say, explore mystical translation of the weekly Parsha, right? Or to dive into foundational Kabbalistic texts like the Tanya or the Zohar in English, right? These works really open the door to the mystical dimensions of the Torah. So even if some concepts feel complex, simply sitting with the teachings really allow them to wash over you and create space for deep resonance and awakening. And of course, like if you're just, regardless of where you're at actually in the process, like tuning into podcasts like this one, because I really try to make this really transcendent information bite-sized and applicable and relevant to every single soul that's listening, right? So whether it's me or somebody else, I would say engaging with contemporary voices who really know how to bridge ancient wisdom with modern life can really make the Torah feel relevant and deeply personal. And then finally, I would say, and probably maybe the most important, is to ask your soul a simple question every day. And that is, what are you trying to teach me today? This invitation creates a sacred container for divine guidance to flow. So just notice what feelings, images, or thoughts arise, right? The Torah, the Creator, often speaks through subtle nudges, synchronicities, inner wisdom. So in a nutshell, I would say it's not just the Torah being a book. It's a living light, a dynamic, radiant source of wisdom and connection. And it does not expect perfection or knowledge. In fact, it meets you exactly where you're at, curious, searching, and open, right? And so that's what I would say on that. on that. And lastly, what is one Kabbalistic truth you would share with everyone listening? I would say you are not separate from the divine. Not at all. There is no distance between you and the light. None whatsoever. That same light that split the sea and hovered over Mount Sinai lives inside of you right here, right now. So you are not trying to become something. You are just remembering what you already are, which is a vessel for that infinite light, a vessel filled with godliness. And if I can leave you here with an intention or a prayer, I'd ask you to place one hand over your heart and maybe one on your belly, and close your eyes and take a deep breath in and repeat after me. Divine Source, today I soften my heart. I release the stories that say I'm not worthy. I empty myself of fear, doubt, and distraction. I open my vessel to receive your light. May I hear the Torah you are whispering into my soul. May I become a vessel for Shefa, love, wisdom, and truth. I remember who I am. I remember where I came from. I am ready to receive. And so it is. And that's it, my loves. May your Shavuot be rich with revelation, sweetness, and soul alignment. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who is ready to receive. Sending you off with love, light, and cheesecake, because that's what we eat on Shavuot. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and this is the Manifestation Method. Here's to your rising. If you enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going inside the Manifestation Method portal app, your #1 destination for Kabbalistic manifestation. Inside, you'll unlock the secrets of manifestation through my proven Abra method, rooted in Kabbalah, psychology, and quantum physics, designed to help you manifest real, tangible results from the inside out. Join our global community of manifestors, explore our signature courses, monthly live manifestation workshops with me, Ayelet, and access our transformational hypno activations and attunements to rewire limiting beliefs and align with your soul's purpose. The app is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. To sign up, head over to ayeletpolonsky.com. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Let's manifest the life you desire and deserve together.